All right. I guess it's time to get started.
Okay, today we have a demo by Raphael of the DAPI current iteration. And this is the one I think that's ready to be used for folks to start creating their own pages on the on his platform. So I'm going to rifle through some of these things here so that he has sufficient time to cover his demo. In terms of the release, we are still running 0925 on the mainnet. 0925.1 is almost ready. And I think as of just a few minutes ago, Gurinder updated the testnet to 0925.1, which is what we're testing. It's already been running on one of the observer nodes on the mainnet for a while and was tested on Sandbox, but we're testing it on the validator nodes on testnet, and I mean basically all nodes on testnet. Once it all works well, we will be moving it to mainnet, but there are a couple of PRs we're still waiting on to complete 0925.1. One is NutZipper is adding some tests to the catch-up, faster catch-up using the last finalized state PR that he has done before. The other, this is really good news. The slashing bugs that we've been talking about for a few weeks now, probably a couple of months. Tomislav found the source of that, and he has a fix for that. So we're hoping to get that also into 0925.1. So that's kind of what is, that's why we're delaying the 0925.1 release to mainnet at this point in time. This particular slashing bug is happening because of hash mismatch when the joins and join channels are not sorted. So Tomislav, the issue is described in the issue and the pull request. You can see in those two numbers there, the 2946 and 3000. So we have a fix for that. And once these PRs are in, we should be in a position to move 0925.1 forward after testing. So those are the two things in 0925.1. And this is all the work that's going on in 0926. The 0925.1 has substantial parts of the last finalized state, including the improvements to catch up that I just talked about. 0926 completes the last finalized state. And there are a bunch of bugs that also we're trying to get into 0926. You can see a list of them here. There is a rewards calculation bug. And there is currently an error with gRPC streaming, whereby the gRPC channel is closed before fully receiving the block sometimes. So that we're investigating. NutZipper has an initial PR on that to create per channel, per validator gRPC channel to see if that alleviates the problem. Then there is the last tech governance meeting. There was a lot of conversation about too much free work as an attack. I mean, basically the nature of the blockchain is that for you to figure out how much it's going to cost, itself takes some work on the network, and that could be an attack vector. So we discussed that a fair amount, and at least we are looking at eliminating the cases where either the flow specified is too little or your wallet doesn't have the flow specified, those kinds of things. So that the balancing act here is that while this is an important issue to address, we do not want to, you do not want to create a situation where any validator can randomly reject deploys and say, oh, I deployed because I rejected because of this. So you do want to have evidence of why a validator has done something. So the idea is that we'll process a deploy as much as the flow allows, and then keep it in the data so that everybody can verify that, okay, this is indeed the reason for why this particular deploy was rejected. So that's I think there are a couple of different use cases there that we're going to be implementing that. And then there's a lot of work on getting the configuration on chain and shard configuration. So that is at least part of that work, perhaps not all of it, but part of that work would be going in there into 0926. And then as we are solving some of these things, we discovered that we need more access to the data, especially getting data at channel and getting the continuation at channel. So we're adding the API calls to enable that. So that's all being worked on in the 0926 stream. Both these streams are kind of being parallelly worked on with the development team. And then we are creating, one of the next things is going to be how do we update contracts on the mainnet. There is a design spec that is being prepared for that. We have had a couple of conversations on that. That's the main thrust. And as far as on the SRE side, we're investigating JVM configurations to reduce out-of-memory errors that we occasionally see. But we want to do it in a way that the JVM itself manages it without us intervening, saying, manually do this or do that for garbage collection. We're just kind of playing with the parameters to see what we can do to improve that situation. In terms of bugs that have a security implication, whether they're reported by the community or discovered by the team, to be able to process them, basically collect them, discuss them, and then come up with solutions. We are creating a private repository on GitHub to deal with that. And then once we have the solution in place or a resolution of some kind, that will be reflected in the main repository as to what has been done to address that issue. So that's what it is. I already talked about the tech governance last time. It focused mostly on this too much free work attack. But now we're beginning to have a solution for that, the PR and the code in there. So that's where we are. I think Greg could probably speak to the RChat progress more than I can, because this last Saturday I was not able to attend that. That's all I have. Greg, you want to, well, before I hand it over to Raphael or Greg, are there any questions on the tech update? Okay. Greg, do you want to do a quick summary of where we are with RChat, or do you want to let Raphael do his demo first? Or?
I mean, it'll just take a second. So the main thing with the RChat is, oh, by the way, thanks for the tech update. That was great. I appreciate that. With respect to RChat, the next step is going from the chain to the chat. And so Steve is getting his, Steve Ross Talbot is working with Dan to get his hands around that. And then Dan also identified the possible flows that we have with respect to adding the voting capability into Zulip. So those are the main elements that are moving forward. Again, what we want to do is to have something that's that we can start messing around with pretty soon, because we'd like to have something that we can use for the AGM. So that's the update so far.
All right. So is there any question on that from anybody, or are we ready for Raphael's demo?
let's go over to Raphael.
Okay, my turn. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. Yep. Okay. So I'm going to start by reading a text I have written to kind of get back to what the DAPI project is about. So DAPI is a web browser and a protocol that allows new kinds of trustless and controlled web applications. Those new kinds of applications are possible with DAPI and not with regular web, because DAPI does not use the domain name system, neither certificate authorities. Instead of a chain of trusted centralized services that regular web is based on, the DAPI protocol is based on a blockchain platform and relies on a network of agents who are independent one with another. Instead of one endpoint to read from or to write to the blockchain, DAPI browser uses a network. This network is the interface between the client and the blockchain. It is also a subset of the blockchain network itself. A given portion of this network might become malicious or offline. This should not affect the client's browsing context. Basically, we apply the same co-authority paradigm as blockchain, but DAPI focuses on internet name system replacement as well as files and web application distribution. So I think the last update was a long time ago, so there is a new section on the website. You might want to check it to get familiar with the core concepts, and one of them is the multi-request. So now I will get straight to the point. So the point is the last release of DAPI, which is 0.3.0. You can download it from the website dapi.tech/download. It's available now on the 3 main operating systems. And so there are lots of technical improvements, but the visible improvements are, for example, this interface. So I am in the deploy section of the DAPI browser, and 6 web applications are available by default and can be deployed by anyone. One of them is the hexagons that I already showed. The other is the personal page that I will show today. And some other application is the ERC 1155 token manager, which allows to manage tokens, create tokens, attach data to tokens, and all kinds of stuff related to tokens. So basically, I'm going in the settings network section. So by default, DAPI browser is connected to the DAPI network, which is a DAPI network connected to the RChain mainnet. So you can see here mainnet. Since it's soon for the DAPI project, it's only a one node network. So it is very much centralized right now, but it should become less and less centralized as nodes get added to the network. So basically, if you have revs, so if you have created an account and you have revs on this account, you will be able to deploy dApps on the mainnet, and this is the interface through which you can deploy dApps. So a dApp it's very simple. It's JavaScript code, CSS code, HTML code, and everything is bundled and uploaded to the blockchain. So if I get back to the glossary, you can see the difference between a dApp that does not use any kind of server connected to the internet. It uses the blockchain, but that's all. No internet server, no DNS system. In comparison, IP applications are closer to regular websites. So getting back, so basically you will be able to deploy any kind of applications. You are also free to modify the JavaScript code, but I will not do it today because it's there is latency to deploy on the mainnet. We have to wait several minutes. So I have already deployed a personal page this afternoon. So the API browser just works just like a regular browser. You have tabs here. So I clicked on this one. Will I have a bug? Let's wait. Okay. So this is a personal page I have deployed this afternoon, and I have updated it with some content. So personal pages work with Markdown. So when you deploy it, you are free to update it as many times as you want. Of course, you are the only one who is able to update the content, because you will have to sign. When I hit save text, I will have the API browser asks me to sign the transaction. So if I have not the right private key, the transaction will be refused when Rolang executes. So this is Markdown. You can link other DAPI applications. So it is a link from DAPI to DAPI. So if I get back, I can navigate to RChain's IP applications. So this is the RChain website rendered in DAPI. If I click on IP, I can see that this is the IP of the RChain website. Also, a new thing is this internet URL. Now we can share DAPI links from regular browser. So if I go into this, if I paste this address in my browser, okay, it will open instantly in DAPI browser. It also works if the browser is closed. You can still navigate. Okay, let's wait. Let's try again. Nope. Okay, you can still navigate to the link that I have copied, and it will open the DAPI browser. Then it will wait for the connection to occur, and when you are connected to the DAPI network, the application launches. So I have shown links, the links, the new stuff. Then so it's not new, but there is still this name system, which should be very much more stable than in previous releases. So this afternoon, I have purchased this RAF name, and I have attached my personal page to this name. This is why we should be able to, okay, RAF, to access this DAP. Okay, so this is the same application, but I access it with a name instead of the raw registry URI. And finally, the addition is the possibility to attach badges to a name. So I have a small mockup that explains what is it about. So with badges, you are able to give reputation or express any kind of relations between your name and some other names. So for example, you might have the identity owning the RChain name that can express recommendation regarding my name or Jim's name, or any kind of string will be can be attached to any badge. So you can also have strings like recognizes as legal associate between on-chain and crypto news. And you can also have negative reputations. For example, Microsoft might have a badge that says advices against Microsoft. And so right now this happens in this section. So if I purchase the RAF2 name, I can give credit, for example, to the RChain name or to YouTube. And basically, so this is recorded to the blockchain, but it does not change anything right now. Badges are useless, but when they are implemented, when I access RAF, for example, you will have a small hint here telling you that RChain approves my page, or any other identity approves or my page or does not approve my page. So we don't exactly know what we're going to do with badges, but it's great to have them, and we'll see who needs them and if we can like change it for special purposes. Okay, so that's it.
Wow, this is great, Raphael. This is fantastic. Any questions for Raphael?
Yeah, I was going to say we should probably schedule a workshop so that we can create our pages with Raphael guiding and then get them in there.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. I wonder if Lilia is on the call.
Hi, I'm on the call.
Hi there. Hi. Are you available to help set up some time with Raphael and the team to set up our personal pages?
Sure, yes.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Very good.
Okay.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you so much, Raphael. This is great progress, and hopefully people can begin to see, you know, a lot of what we've been aiming for starting to come into focus. Daryl, do you? It's almost my space on blockchain.
Yeah, I'm really excited. Like my heart's beating a few BPM faster after seeing this demo. It's super cool.
Yeah, we're getting there. One step at a time. One step at a time.
For anyone who's just listening, the URL is dappy.tech, dappy.tech.
Yep.
Very good.
Yeah, I wonder, are there any comments or questions from the community about Raphael's presentation and the Dappy platform? All right.
Okay. All right then. So how about we hand it over to Daryl for the community and review, and then we have a few other updates.
All right. So here's the community week in review for Thursday, the 16th to today, the 22nd. So last Thursday on the tech governance call, the discussion revolved around how fees are structured and implemented. On the governance committee meeting, also on Thursday, the committee agreed to actively invite topics of discussion for the board and nominations for board positions. There are 3 positions coming up for a vote in October. Also, the compensation committee updated the compensation proposal and voted for it to be forwarded to the board. Also on Thursday, the dApp Developer Working Group, they explored the use of MetaMask for signing RChain transactions and debugged a Zulip chat voting bot for possible adaptation for use in co-op voting. Last Friday on the Climate and Coordination podcast, we discussed recent climate reports that suggest the Earth has 24% chance of reaching an average of 1.5 degrees Celsius temperature rise, as well as the World Economic Forum's use cases for blockchain in government institutions. The call ended with a discussion about RChain's unique approach to concurrency. By the way, you can subscribe to the podcast by just searching for RChain or RCast on your favorite podcast app. On Monday was the Casper Standup call. In this Casper Standup, they discussed how the operational semantics and logical form dramatically increases the query capabilities of RChain, and why these are so important to be open source and decentralized. And to check out these calls, you can just search for Casper Standup on YouTube. Also on Monday was the Art on the Blockchain call, where they discussed decentralized file sharing tools and a blockchain art cooperative organization and roadmap. Very exciting. Also on Tuesday on the RChain education call, the group explored simple Rolang from the last session, but with higher order channels. Now we can send and receive any process and not just string as before. We discussed initial support for ground processes and related operations. Standard output can now be better defined. And on the DApp developer working group call, they tested the latest DAPI, including the creation of DAPI pages and name registration, which you just saw. Also, yesterday, the communications working group meeting, the group discussed creating a Chinese community category and menu item on the blog, which would contain Chinese documents provided from the China marketing team and community, and then the English translated versions of all those documents. We also discussed improving member engagement in registering rev addresses for voting at the AGM in October. Also, and so for today, in Jim Whitescarver's members meeting group, Steve Ross Talbot mentioned the AGM in October, in which we shall try to use our own voting system based on RChain for both nominations and any motions that may come before us. So the board and governance committee wanted to reach out to all members who wish to frame a topic of discussion for the AGM and help members navigate the process for submission. And he offered his help to anyone that might need it and suggested reaching out to him on Discord. He's Steve Ross Talbot, all one word, on Discord. Also in the meeting just an hour ago, the group discovered some current issues with testnet while Jim was attempting to send some test rev. And that brings us to right now.
Yeah, let me just clarify on the testnet. Basically, Gurinder was updating the testnet past hour or so.
Okay.
More than the past hour. He was done updating just before I started. So I think I encourage anybody that saw issues to try it again and report if there are still any ongoing issues. As of now, there should not be, but just let us know if there are. Thank you.
Okay, great. Mystery solved. Thanks, Ralph.
Very good. Any questions for Daryl? Okay, very good. All right, so I know that a lot of people resonated when I spoke briefly about the sort of what distinguishes RChain from Ethereum. And so one of the things that may be of interest to folks is that the operational semantics and logical form dramatically extends that idea. So if people remember, Rolang gives us a sort of next generation SQL. That's one way to think about it. So RChain is both a computer and a database, an integrated compute and storage. And Rolang gives us this next generation SQL that reconciles the good things of NoSQL with the good things of relational databases. And then the operational semantics in logical form gives us a vastly expanded query capability. So the key idea is that once you have this ability to generate logical formulae for any given domain, so an incredibly broad range of domains, from every model of computation that's been put forward to geometric domains to dynamical systems, all of those things are fair game as input to the algorithm that we've come up with for the operational semantics and logical form. And the logical formulae can be thought of as queries. One way to think about them is you just check to see whether an instance that you've got in hand, be it a program from GitHub or a smart contract from the blockchain, or some geometric data, or some cell signaling regime data, each of those can be checked against your logical formula as to whether or not they satisfy the logical formula. And in the case that they do, then you throw it in the bucket as the, included in the query results. So that's the basic idea. But once you start thinking about what this means for programs, right? So programs are kind of the dark matter of the internet. We treat them as data assets, but we cannot query on the basis of their structure or what they do. So this gives us the ability to do that, which suddenly opens up the value of assets like GitHub, because now they're queryable as opposed to having to tag them with metadata. Likewise, it's also true for the boutique databases that capture biological data, such as cell signaling dynamics. So those become queryable in a way that they weren't before. One of the examples that I gave in my 4 Impossible Queries talk back in 2009 was find me all the small molecules such that when you drop them in this concentration into the cell signaling regime that you're interested in will not reach a particular state. So that state that we're interested in is a disease state. So what we're saying is, find me the small molecules like aspirin or other kinds of small molecules that prevent the cell from transitioning into a disease state. A short form of that is find me a cure. So these are the kinds of things that we can add to the query capability that we've already got with Rolang with this algorithm. Now, of course, once you have a query capability like this, then when it comes to code, you can also query the code that you're compiling for various features, like is it single-threaded, is it multi-threaded, does it leak secrets, does it deadlock? These are things that you can check of the code you're compiling, and so that's where the logical formulae turn into type checking kinds of capabilities. But the query capability is very, very important. And it also shows us why we need to make this the province of the people, for lack of a better word or phraseology. Because these, as we start making a blockchain that is capable of handling geolocation data and providing interesting query semantics for geolocation data, be it for self-driving cars or other kinds of logistics transport, that's not the sort of capability that we want in the hands of just a few, right? We don't want Mark Zuckerberg controlling that kind of data alone. It's much better to be in the hands of the wider community. Similarly with healthcare data, right? As we start making healthcare data more and more useful, because we can now search on the basis of dynamics like I was talking about, then again, it's not the kind of query capability or utility that we want in the hands of a few. We don't want Pfizer or Merck, who have not the best records when it comes to whether or not they have the public's best interest in mind, being the sole controller of this kind of query capability. Rather, it makes much more sense to have this to be in the hands of the people, which is why associating it with a decentralized blockchain is a much better move. So that's essentially the content of the Casper talk, but since the folks here have been interested in how RChain is differentiated, this is one of the key differentiators and one of the main reasons, in addition to the behavioral types, why it makes sense for this research to be on the docket for work on RChain. So any questions about what I just said? All righty. Talkative group today. Moving on, we still are in double digits with the rev addresses. So please, please check your email and reach out to folks that you think might not have sent in the rev addresses. We wanna break the double digits and at least get into triple digits before July ends. That would be great news.
Yeah, is there going to be an explainer video? I heard that there might be one coming soon. I think that would be a really helpful thing to have on just how to do it.
Yes, I believe so. Daryl, and any update on that?
Still kind of working through the logistics of that, but hopefully there should be something in a week or two that kind of just makes it easier for some people.
If it's 2 weeks, it's outside of the July deadline.
Yeah, this is true.
Yeah,
And well, I mean, I saw in the chat, Ian, I think it was Ian. Let's see, was it Ian? Yeah, posted, you know, to check if you get the email. I think most people have the email. I think there might just be some, if I would just be so bold as to make a conjecture on this bright Wednesday morning, I think it's maybe just that people might be a little confused about the process. That would be my guess.
Could be.
So as soon as we have a video,
my-
or even just a document that has clear instructions, personally, I read the instructions and I was myself a little confused. So anyway.
Good. Well, that's good to know. We can help out with that. That's great to know that there is some confusion. We can certainly.
I just would guess that I would not be the only confused person. That's all I would say.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. So I think that's it. Was there anything else we wanted to cover? Ian, Daryl, Ralph?
I'm good.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone. I hope everyone is staying safe, and I'm sure I'll see some of you on Friday. We have some updates to provide on Friday. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks, everybody.